All right. If everyone in the back, we love that you love talking. We know we haven't seen each other in 3 years, so everyone's happy to see each other. Welcome back to our live stream, folks. We missed you during lunch and roundtable, but hopefully there's some folks watching from afar who didn't make the trek to Framingham today. I just talked to someone who said it took her 3 hours to get here today, and she's so happy that she came, which is so great. So now I am honored to introduce my friend, my partner, the CEO of MassBio, Joe Boncore. He's going to present on MassBio's workforce analysis report, which was released last week. You'll hear that they surveyed over 100 life sciences companies to get direct data on what's going on with these jobs. So it's really important for us to listen to this. Prior to joining MassBio in the fall, Joe was a state senator representing his hometown of Winthrop, plus Revere, parts of Boston, and parts of Cambridge, including Kendall Square. He's very familiar and has become even more familiar with the industry since he joined MassBio in the fall. And before joining the legislature, Joe practiced law, specializing in criminal law, including serving as a public defender. And just speaking personally, I'm so happy to have Joe as our partner at MassBio. Come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny. Thank you for that warm introduction. You've been a great partner. You know, I echo your sentiment right back to you. And what a great event today has been. I think we all owe Sonny, John Brothers, who's done a tremendous amount of work for this event, but really the entire team at MassBio Ed, a round of applause. So, as Sonny said, I want to share a story by way of background for you, about myself. I was a state senator, so First Suffolk and Middlesex District, including Winthrop, Revere, Boston, and Kendall Square in Cambridge. Now, when I ran for office in 2016, I was in a very loaded Democratic primary. 7 other people ran, and when we were counting I won, obviously. When we were counting the votes, I got 18 votes in Cambridge. In the whole city, I got 18 votes. So I get into the state Senate, and a couple people come to me and they say, hey, you got to see what's going on in Cambridge. And I'm like, Cambridge? They wouldn't even know who I am if I walked over there. But I'm so glad I did. When I went over the Longfellow Bridge, I saw the incredible power of this industry to change healthcare, to change patients' lives, and really change the Massachusetts economy. And that's what we're here to talk about. So I got very involved in the biotech caucus. I chaired the biotech caucus for about 4 years in the state Senate. I had a good understanding of the policy end of things. In 2019, my wife was pregnant. And at 25 weeks, we learned that the pregnancy, as the doctors put it, was no longer viable. And we were pregnant with twins at the time. And it was a difficult time. And, they said they were going to go forward and they were going to deliver the 2 babies at 25 weeks. And if you've ever been in a circumstance where you're in a NICU or close to a NICU or a family member, you know how hopeless that feeling can be. But I had a lot of hope. Because I knew on the policy end of things what this industry was capable of. I knew the medical advancement that was coming out of Cambridge and our Boston hospitals and extending throughout the state. So it gave me a lot of hope. And my 2 boys were delivered. Baby A, as they referred to him, was 1.1 pound. Baby B wasn't even a full pound. He was 446 grams. We went through all of it. I mean, sepsis. My son had pulmonary embolism on the 2nd day of life. I mean, all things that doctors would tell me, anywhere else in the world, we'd have no chance. Because you're in Boston and because of this industry, my kids today are 2.5 years old. They're thriving and doing well. And it gave me so much hope, and it continues to do it today. Being here today, now part of this industry, leading this industry in some form, I'm full of hope for what we're all doing here today. The fact that you're taking time out of your schedules to convene with all of us at MassBio Ed. You have government, you have industry, and you have academia. coming together to really solve the pressing workforce issue ahead of us. So that gives me hope, and I hope it gives everyone in this room hope. And I know these conversations will continue. So today I'm happy to present to you all MassBio's newly released workforce analysis report. I'm excited to see these findings and share them all with you here today. We know that the life science industry in Massachusetts is growing, but it is helpful to take a step back and really examine the true scope of its growth. Over the last 10 years, lab space in Massachusetts has more than doubled. The state has added about 21 million square feet of lab space in the last 10 years. And to support that growth, the industry has added about 60,000 new jobs. And that's a growth rate of about 131%, as you can see. And just to give you some context, the labor growth in the state of Massachusetts in the same period of time since 2006 has been 6.9%. And in this industry, the growth rate's 131%. So it's an impressive, it's an impressive growth, and it's a growth rate we're expected to see continue with more of a trend towards regionalization. So this data is about a year old, but as you can see, there is continued construction of new lab and biomanufacturing happening all across the state. Some recent estimates go as high as 60 million square feet in the pipeline over the next 10 years. There are many estimates as to how much job demand this will create, but there's no doubt in my mind or anyone's mind in this room who's looked at these numbers that this expansion will add tens of thousands of more jobs to our industry. So we're particularly excited about the expansion of biomanufacturing as it really will create opportunity in other parts of the state for other pools of workers. However, all this growth does present a challenge in making sure that we have an adequate talent pipeline to meet this demand. After we released our industry snapshot last year with the estimate of a net new 40,000 jobs, we knew that we needed to understand more about those jobs. What kinds of roles are in most demand, and what credentials and qualifications employers were requiring. At the same time, we wanted to learn whether the current educational and training programs in Massachusetts would be able to help meet this demand. So we conducted, as Sunny referred to, this comprehensive survey of our membership, which included a quantitative survey as well as qualitative interviews alongside to review the state's educational and training landscape. Now, what we learned we found extremely informative, and we hope that this will help inform the industry and everyone in this room how we can better focus our efforts on creating solutions that will have the most impact. The first part of the equation to better understand is the employer's experience. What it's like hiring right now. Are they going to be growing? What positions do they have the hardest time filling? And what kind of credentials, qualifications, and skills they are requiring of the job applicants? As you can see here, the survey results were clear. Hiring is very difficult, as most of you know in the industry, for all life sciences companies right now. But 94% of firms indicated they had difficulty filling non-entry level positions over the last 12 months, with 74% also reporting that they're having difficulty hiring entry level positions. The majority of survey respondents really cited two factors as driving the problems: small applicant pools and candidates who lack experience. As a result of this environment, employers have resorted to uptitling, wage inflation, and skills and experience gaps that could have lasting impacts on this market and on the labor market and on this industry. The survey data here has also clearly identified where companies need the most help filling the talent pipeline. These will probably be no surprise to most of you in the room, but it gives us an idea and more clarity on what educational pathways that we must focus on to prepare a workforce to fill these roles. The exciting piece is that many of the entry-level jobs, companies can fill these roles with non-four-year degree holders, but only if the educational system better prepares these students to fill those roles. Yet, despite the difficulty hiring, 78% of the surveyed firms indicated that they expect to hire more employees over the next 12 months. And it's important to note here that this survey was conducted between January and April of this year. Therefore, it does account, and these companies were accounting for the current, or reacting to the current financial market conditions that has been so widely reported throughout the Commonwealth. So with every expectation that our industry will continue to grow, we had to also understand the scope of the talent pipeline. Are our academic institutions and training programs creating enough well-trained persons to go to work in the life sciences? The report's authors concluded in an analysis of the current educational and training environment across Massachusetts with a specific focus on non-four-year degree programs. And despite the high number of people graduating with relevant four-year degrees and advanced degrees, and the increasing number of non-four-year degree training programs running, the report was clear. The traditional channels will be unable to meet the supply gap for the Massachusetts life science industry. So I'm careful to note that this conclusion is in no way meant to disparage the academic institutions that are among us here today. Massachusetts still does a better job than any other state in producing talent for the life science. It's just that the demand is simply outstripping the supply right now. So what can we do to fix this imbalance? You've seen the data. The report is available if you visit massbio.org, so you can see all the numbers that went into this. But I think it's important to talk about what we can do to fix this. So we've broken down in the report's conclusions and recommendations into suggested areas of focus for different stakeholder groups. So let's start with academia and the nonprofits, then discuss employers, and what MassBio and other industry associations can do to help this. And this must be a collaborative effort among all stakeholders, from industry, academia, nonprofits, and government. We must form and strengthen partnerships, and one common goal is to build and diversify the talent pipeline here in the Commonwealth for the life science industry. Now, we know there's no silver bullet or straight line, but this report identifies some areas of focus. Career awareness is critical. And many organizations like MassBio Ed and others are doing important work here. This is important for people who may be pursuing a four-year degree, or not. Too many young people cannot see themselves in the life sciences because no one in their sphere of influence, family, or friends are in it. But they don't see the path to being a scientist at all. Or they just haven't been told about those opportunities. And we found this to be true for students in high school, but also students who are enrolled in four-year degree programs on a bio pathway have no career awareness around what this industry does or the opportunity here. So the rest of the recommendations are largely focused on creating and expanding successful ways to train workers, and especially getting them the appropriate hands-on experience, something we heard time and time again from our industry partners and companies. These must be aligned with what employers want and need. Education programs and industry must talk regularly. And that's what gives me so much hope as to what we're doing here, is we have both parties in the room. And I know the conversations, as John and I were discussing before, will continue in the days and weeks and months to follow. When we're talking about certification programs, let's be creative. How about expanding a certificate program to train for regulatory employees, where there's so much need, and it's been a so well-identified need by this report through our companies. And we shouldn't forget about non-scientific roles. Let's figure out how and where to add bio-specific modules to existing four-year degree programs. From the employer side, employers need to start by making a commitment to hire more talent that does not have a four-year degree. This means we need to update posting requirements, but also changing hiring manager preferences. We know many jobs, especially entry-level jobs, do not require a four-year degree program. Furthermore, with the right training and hands-on experience, employers could be getting better trained employees who are ready to go on day one. It also encourages equity in hiring that will promote further diversity in all types throughout our industry. The survey data is clear that employers strongly prefer hiring people with 4-year degrees. 58% requiring a bachelor degree for an entry-level job is too high for this industry. We know that in reality, that a non-4-year degree holder will have a hard time in the hiring process, regardless of what the job posting requirements say. And the data backs this up, with 45% of companies saying that they would not hire someone with less than a 4-year degree. We can't afford to have potential applicants pass over a job because the qualification bar is unnecessarily high. Simply stated, it will not continue to perpetuate equity gaps, and we should be knocking down barriers that exist currently in this industry. The next commitment from employers should be expanding their partnerships with minority MSIs to recruit and train talent. You know, there are more than 30 in Massachusetts. Many already have successful biotech training programs, such as Bunker Hill Community College. Employers must expand their commitments to internships, apprenticeships, and co-ops that give learners hands-on experience that employers say they want in applicants and entry-level jobs. These types of hands-on learning pair so well with certificate and other training programs to develop the best and well-trained workforce that this industry requires. At MassBio, we envision our role to be the center of all of this, to act as a neutral party that can help to facilitate, collaborate, network, and create action plans. With so much attention being paid to this issue, we believe that helping to align activities, align efficiencies, and share the best practices can make a real difference on the outcomes. We know that public policy is critical to where our role as advocates can make a real difference. This could be things like advocating for solutions on housing. Massachusetts is facing a housing crisis. Advocating for transportation and other infrastructure, and as well as childcare. Or advocating for more government support for workforce development. Things like we've heard today, the Life Science Initiative 3.0. Now, as most of you are aware, the original Life Science Initiative was really ignited the industry here in the Commonwealth. In 2008, the government authorized a $1 billion investment over 10 years that really changed the course of the life sciences in Massachusetts. And that was reinforced back in 2018 when another $623 million was added. But that initiative is set to expire in June of next year. The Life Science Initiative 3.0 must focus on workforce and how government can most directly fund workforce trainings and programming. Models in other states should be copied. North Carolina has a government-funded biotech training center. Their community colleges all share curriculum. And we can too take models like that and implement them here. And we need to do the same. So like I said before, you know, I want to encourage you all to read through this report, come up with your own conclusions and findings, and let this be the beginning of a conversation that we're going to continue to have over the next weeks, months, and into the next year, because we need to act collaboratively. We need to act quickly to ensure that this industry's success can continue. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to widen the breadth of the potential employee pipeline and diversify the same. So I want to thank Sunny for this opportunity. I will take any questions. If anyone in the audience has any questions. All right, thank you. Back to you, Sunny. Oh, there's questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, come on.
I'll go back to this slide.
Hi, thank you for a very informative talk with a lot of data. I'm Sarah Nochur from Alnylam Pharmaceuticals. Earlier, the speakers had talked about the additional ancillary services that are needed to keep people in the Boston area. Yeah. Would you comment on what we can do with regard to public transportation, for instance, and improving that, and commuter rail, et cetera? Because often the traffic is one of the major deterrents, and people are leaving Cambridge and Boston in droves.
Right.
because of many of these issues, as well as the housing costs.
And I agree. I mean, we're hearing that from many of our companies, and I think there's a couple answers. I mean, regionalization of this industry. People want to live close to where they work and work close to where they live. My office is situated in Kendall Square. There's 0% vacancy in Kendall Square. So if we're going to continue to expand, this industry and grow this industry in the Commonwealth, we need to grow to other regions. So MassBio has been very helpful on the forefront of this in creating a community guide where we're grading municipalities that want to host life science companies. But also as an industry, as we grow, I mean, for years on Beacon Hill, I'd only hear from this industry when the conversation was being had about drug pricing and value. And I think that's a real lost opportunity for this industry. This industry employs more than 109,000 people in this Commonwealth. That's a growing number. At MassBio, we represent more than 1,500 Massachusetts biotechnology companies that are here. I mean, our industry issues are beyond drug pricing now. Our industry issues are transportation. Our industry issues are ensuring that as we attract and try to retain talent that's graduating from our institutes of higher education, that we're affording them, a fair and equitable and right priced place to live, along hopefully a robust public transportation infrastructure. Our issues now are childcare and making sure that people have entry, after COVID as we return to work, back to a job. So I just bring this all up to say we need to be better advocates for a wider breadth of issues on Beacon Hill and Capitol Hill, because these are issues that are also going to affect the future growth of this industry here. Any other questions? All right. That seems to be it. I guess I answered them all. It was an incredible report from the looks of things. But thank you all very much. Thank you for being here. I look forward to collaborating.